right, happy NFL Sunday, guys. We have Week 4 main slate to go over. This one's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, we have a lot of good spend up, some interesting value plays. Some value plays are definitely on the riskier side, where we have some wide receivers that younger guys or we haven't seen a ton of, right? We have some Tennessee guys that are viable, some Giants guys that are viable, but there's obviously some risk involved there. But yeah, again, this is going to be a general Q&A, so make sure to leave some questions in the chat, and I can get over and answer all of them. So if you guys do enjoy, if you could, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe. So, going to be a big day. We got NFL, again, obviously Week 4. We have NBA preseason starting up. Sunday Night Football as well is going to be a good one, even though I won't be live for that one, just FYI. You're too scared to fade Derrick Henry. So here's the thing with Henry. He's going to be pretty popular, and normally when he's popular, not every time, but normally when he's popular, he doesn't do amazing. It seems like he always shreds or goes off when he's low owned. So I'll just say that. I think he's obviously a really solid cash game play just because Tennessee's missing their top 2 wide receivers. They should be playing from ahead. Should be a heavy dose of Derrick Henry. So, and he's been more involved in the pass game, which I think is a little bit surprising. But hey, he's gotten there. So I think he makes for an interesting fade though in tournaments for sure. CEH, ridiculously cheap. So he's not going to be. He was obviously way too cheap last week. Now the price went up a little bit, right, from 4.8 to 5.4. I don't think he's going to get that much ownership this week, so I don't mind him. Obviously, I think it's the highest total game still. That Kansas City one, it's 54. I think that's the highest. Oh no, Cardinals, Rams, 54.5. Either way, one of the highest total games. He's still playing a majority of the snaps, so I think I'm fine with CEH. I don't think he's going to get that much ownership. Lots of value. Yeah, there is value at wide receiver, but a lot of it, there's not a lot you're going to feel great about, right? Henry, Kamara, you can make that work to the 2 kind of bell cow backs at the top. Yeah, you can. Obviously, with Kamara, the receiving work hasn't been great. It's been there, but not as good as it has been in recent years. But yeah, both those guys look good if you can afford them. Justin Fields jersey. Do you like Lamar and Brown stack and bring it back with Cooks? I'm not a big fan of that game, to be honest. The reason you get to Lamar, if I play Lamar, it's almost every single time I'm going to play him, it's going to be naked Lamar. At least for the main slate. I don't really like pairing him with any of his targets. So I think Lamar is a fine contrarian quarterback play. No, I probably wouldn't stack him. Chalk Henry is never a good feeling. But the thing is, then it's you fade him the opposite side, right? If you're fading him in GPPs, it's also not a good feeling because he's going to be popular and he's going to get a ton of work. Just a matter of obviously can he get in the end zone. Big time injuries. Basically, everyone that was questionable is basically playing, right? Cook is in, Taylor's in, Swift's in, Gibson's in, Henderson's in, Gordon, I believe, is in. Expected to play. Basically, everyone. Yeah, Elijah Mitchell's out or doubtful. Isn't expected to play. And at wide receiver, basically, again, everyone that's questionable is in. Lockett's in. Claypool, I believe, was already ruled out. Yeah, he was ruled out yesterday. Crowder, I believe, is in. Yeah, there's a lot of, barring any setbacks. But a lot of the guys that were questionable last couple days are good to go. Vikings stack with OBJ, bring it back. I think it's a fine contrarian stack. Not my favorite stack, but that's on KJ Osborne. I actually don't mind KJ Osborne with so much value at wide receiver. Or I guess not. There's a lot of viable value plays at wide receiver, but no one you can feel amazing about, right? Osborne's a guy. His role is defined, right? He's going to play around 60% of the snaps in the slot. And he's going to run a ton of routes. He ran a ton of routes last week. He just only had 2 catches. So I'm actually okay going back to the well on Osborne. I think people will hop off after he was pretty popular last week and kind of a bust, right? And they're going to look to those other receivers. They're going to look to those Giants receivers. They're going to look to the Tennessee guys, right? Like Westbrook or Reynolds. I think KJ Osborne flies under the radar. So I'm actually fine going back there because we know his role. Apparently Eagles and Broncos. Yeah, Eagles O-lines have been missing everyone, I heard. That's not great. Not great for the running backs, obviously. Yeah, man, let's get it. Showdown season for NBA. I'll be doing a Patreon live stream for that. Do you get thoughts for Cash, Stafford? So you got both Belka backs and Henry Kamara with Kupp, Westbrook, Samuel, Schultz, Swift, Lions D. I guess there's no play that I dislike, so I think that's okay. OBJ or Pittman? I'll probably lean OBJ for the matchup. He's 5.8K. Yeah, I think I'll lean OBJ there. Yeah, Dalvin Cook's in. Does he get a full workload or not? Possible they might limit him a little bit, maybe give some extra touches to Madison. The issue with going to Cook here is they don't have a big reason to push him, right? Because they obviously have a good backup in Madison. So we'll see. I mean, you're getting him at a low ownership, but that's just one where I might just take a wait-and-see approach. Yeah, Ingram or Ferguson is a good question, right? Ferguson obviously probably gets more involved today with both the main Tennessee wide receivers out. And you have Ingram, who, kind of the same thing, right? 2 of the top 3 targets are out. He's been super disappointing. Did have 6 targets. I mean, if I had to pick one that has a little more upside, it's probably Ingram. But man, he's been really bad last couple of years. Moss, Beasley, Sermon, and Sanders need to start 2. Ooh. I would probably start both the Bills wide receivers. And just because they're just going to air it out no matter what, right? If we go over to Josh Allen, talked about this in my video, but 35-0, and he threw 33 times. This game, they were playing from a massive lead the entire game. He threw 43 times. So it's almost like the passing attack is blowout proof. They're still going to air it out no matter what. Lots of McLaurin and Colin Johnson. McLaurin's a low-owned play in the mid-range that is just fine, I guess. I probably prefer other options, and Colin Johnson. So here's the thing with some of these cheap wide receivers. There's a lot of them that are in play, but there's some risk, right? He had 5 catches and 7 targets. Tony actually outsnapped him, though. Galladay's going to be the top option. Ingram might get a little more involved. So he's for sure in play, but I don't know if we can expect that level of production from the limited amount of snaps he got last time. Let's see. Where else? Thoughts on Will Dissly? Yes, let's go to Seattle. Because Everett is confirmed out. Isn't likely to be available. So, Dissly's going to be the top tight end for the Seahawks. He's cheap. I mean, you guys kind of know my take on the cheap tight ends. I just don't really like doing it. I just think there's a few tight ends that have way more upside than the rest, and it's just worth it to jam those guys in. But I would say he's probably one of the better punt tight end plays. It's just not something I've really been looking to do a lot last couple of years is punt tight end. I'm looking to spend up almost every single week. Debating a Rodgers-Adams stack, that'll be pretty low-owned. It's a lower total game. It's in the mid-40s. I don't think it's going to be super popular. They're 45.5. Obviously with Green Bay, targets are condensed. It's going to be Adams, and on the ground, it's going to be a lot of Aaron Jones. The game stack does make some sense. Pittsburgh's been awful, but we'll see if they can put up some points this week. Pay up for what position is the best on the slate? Cash game's probably running back, but yeah, as I said, I've been liking to spend up a little bit more. Not you don't have to go all the way to the top to Kelsey, but I just don't really like punting tight end. I like kind of staying in this upper tier for tight end. Yeah, Henderson. No, he's good to go. He's barring any setbacks, he's good to go. So I think Henderson's a pretty solid play because the reason is first couple games when he was good, he played basically the entire game. So my assumption is if he comes back, he's going to play majority of the game. Maybe not 100% of the snaps, so maybe 80%. He is involved in the passing game. This is the highest total game on the slate, so I do like Henderson. I do. And you said what if he doesn't go? If he doesn't go, then Sony Michel will be the guy that fills in. Sony Michel got 20 carries last week, 3 catches and 4 targets. So yeah, if Henderson can't go, you can go to Sony Michel, but can't talk. But I think Henderson's fine. Hurts don't play with the O-line. Yeah, because of the rushing upside, right? The reason you go to Jalen Hurts is rushing upside. I think he'll be one of the more popular quarterback plays. It's a high total game. They're most likely to be playing from behind. They said they want to work the running game more. I mean, they're not going to really be able to. Like, they can try, but they're going to have to put up a lot of points, right? This is the second highest total on the slate. So, again, like 35 rushing yards, kind of his floor. 82-62 the other 2 weeks. I like Hurts. Even with the bad offensive line, I just think that rushing upside really raises his floor. Yep, I agree. Chiefs stack is going to go overlooked, like it almost always does. So paying up to Mahomes, never a bad idea, right? Probably a floor of around 20 and upside of 40-ish. And obviously you have two guys that can break the slate too in Hill and Kelsey. So I agree. It's going to be low owned, and people always overthink it. Is Lockett playing? Yeah, he's good. Worried about weather for the Bills game. Is it bad weather there? I haven't been keeping track of that one too much. Is it just rain? Sorry, Miles Sanders, my bad from the previous question. Miles Sanders. Oh, yeah, I thought it was Emmanuel Sanders. It probably still would be Beasley and Sanders because I think Sanders is involved in the pass game too. So, like, how cheap are you talking running back? I don't know if there's like a smash running back value play today. There's some viable options down here, but there's no like plug and play. Like, you have both Bills backs, sure, fine. I don't hate it. Obviously, it's a good offense. Sermon will be, the top option for San Francisco, even though they didn't look great. Again, Javonte Williams is now going to split work with Melvin Gordon because he's expected to play. And then you kind of get up to the mid-range. So, like, there's no smash running back value play for me. FanDuel GPPs between Moss. I think I would go Edmonds there. Yeah, Edmonds, I think he's a fine tournament play. He's kind of at a price range I think goes a little bit overlooked. He's very involved in the pass game. 8, 5, and 4 targets. This is a high total game. So he's got that floor of the targets. I think he's a solid play, yeah. I'm good going there in part of a game stack, or if you want to go to him for a low-owned play. Fant or B-More? B-More. Wait, who are you talking about? Who else is out besides Lane Johnson? I think 4 of the top 5 linemen I'm pretty sure are out. Pittman or Woods? For me, it's probably Woods there. His snaps went up. He played about 90% of the snaps. He actually played more than Cooper Kupp last week. And obviously Kupp's been the clear guy this year. But you would think some regression happens with Kupp, and maybe if that does, it probably goes to Robert Woods. You think Tony for the Giants? He's most likely going to play out of the slot, Tony. So, yeah, you have him and Colin Johnson, the 2 cheap options. They're definitely going to try to get Tony the ball. He did only have 2 catch and 3 targets, but he played the most snaps behind Galladay once those 2 receivers went down. It's fine value, right? It's something, like I said, there's a lot of value like this where it's like, okay, we haven't really seen a full game out of these guys, but he's for sure in play. I think he plays a lot out of the slot. Rodgers and Adams or Hurts and Kupp. Depends what you're playing. I think the Rodgers-Adams stack is a fine contrarian stack of GPPs. Oh, thank you, Stefan. Just a $2 super chat. Thank you. Great content. Appreciate that, man. That was super nice of you. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions. In Buffalo, it's just light rain. Okay. Heavy rain for Buffalo game. Okay, so a little conflicted reports there. The heaviest rain will pass just the north of the Bills. Texas game, we'll see some rain in Buffalo. Okay, so like a little bit of rain. Slight downgrade of the passing attack, but like it wouldn't be something that like I wouldn't get off like my Bills stack if I was doing that. Here's some Cordarrelle Patterson. I mean, he's going to split touches with Mike Davis. He's been involved in the passing game too. With the Falcons, they're mostly going to be playing for HINES almost every single game, so that's the argument there is, he's going to get there most of the time from dump offs. Osborne or Marshall is a good question. I think it's pretty close, those two. Like, Marshall did play more in 2 wide receiver sets last week, right? He took some snaps away from Robbie Anderson. Now, they said they want to get Robbie Anderson more involved, but, like, Terrace Marshall is pretty talented. Again, he kind of had a great he did have a good preseason. It's pretty close, right? Because I would say, like, they're almost the same plays. Both Osborne and Marshall are going to play majority out of the slot. Both probably play around 60% of snaps, and both are in decent matchups. Maybe Marshall's slightly better matchup. Osborne a little bit cheaper. I think that's really a coin flip. I think they're basically identical plays for me. Oh, Noah Fant versus Baltimore defense. Who got overlooked? Like, I don't see a lot of people talk about Noah Fant. It's a relatively low total game. 44 over/under is not great. But, with no Jerry Jeudy, Font's upside, I think, goes up a little bit. This is a game you would think they're probably going to be playing from behind. I mean, it was probably going to be close, but I would think Baltimore's leading this game, so Denver might play a little bit of catch-up. I can get behind some Noah Fant. Again, I don't think he's going to be super popular. He's at a price range where there's probably going to be some other tight ends to get more ownership than Fant, so yeah, I'm good at that. Thoughts on Brandon Ayuk? I think he's relatively safe. Again, Shanahan, you can never really trust him, but he played way more last game. He played like 80+% of snaps. Week 1 was like 30%, week 2 was like 50%, now week 3 was 80%. And this is, a pretty solid matchup against Seattle. I do like Ayuk. I think he's a safe option unless Shanahan trolls us, which is always possible. Like, you're never going to feel amazing targeting anyone in San Francisco, maybe outside of George Kittle, just because Shanahan is the worst. He's known to troll us DFS players. You feeling Robbie Anderson? Yes, they did say they wanted to get more involved, Robbie Anderson. He's really cheap. He has not had a good game yet. A lot of people were on him. Like, a lot of sharp players were on him last week, and obviously he didn't get there. So, like, maybe since a lot of people went there last week on the showdown slate and he burned people, he's going to be even lower owned. He's still playing like a decent amount, right? The snaps went down a little bit, but he's still got that big play upside. They said they want to get him more involved. It makes sense for tournaments, trying to buy low on him, right? Because he had a pretty good year last year. He had some big games. So the upside is still there. We just haven't seen it yet from him. Do I go Devontae Smith and Deontay Johnson standard scoring? That's a good question. Deontay's been banged. I feel like Deontay is... When is he ever healthy, right? He's always banged up. But, like, yeah, doesn't have a designation. The first 2 games he played, 10 and 12 targets. I think it's probably lean to Deontay Johnson and just pray that he doesn't get injured. Diggs or Tyreek is another good question. I would say I think Diggs is a little bit of a higher floor. I just think that I think he has a little bit of a higher floor than Tyreek, and I think the ceiling is a little bit higher in Tyreek. Obviously, we've seen kind of a couple floor games here from Tyreek last couple games. I think Tyreek makes her a good tournament play, right? Because 5, 10 fancy points. He's the highest priced wide receiver, too. So, like, not a lot of people are going to look his way, but he can blow the roof off a slate like he did week 1. So, Diggs is the higher floor guy for sure, and I think Tyreek Hill is more of that boomer bust play. Corey Davis revenge game. You're not going to feel... I mean, targeting any Jets guys is like targeting any of those Falcons guys. Like, I've had someone from Atlanta every single week. It's just so frustrating watching that offense. I mean, watching this Jets offense is just gross, too. I get it, revenge game narrative. I get it, he's number 1 wide receiver. It's fine. Like, he's probably going to be playing from behind. The Jets. It's tough to watch that team. Is Dak too low? I think Dak's at a nice price point. I think he'll be relatively popular. I don't think he's going to be the chalk like he was in week 2. But obviously, he was a massive bust in week 2. But, yeah, I do think this is a pretty solid price for Dak. A higher total game. Dallas is a team that's going to push the pace offensively, whether it be running the ball or passing. So, yeah, I do like Dak. Do you like Hubbard today? I think he's a pretty good play in this range, kind of the mid-range. He played on 70% of snaps once CMC went down. So I think we'll get somewhere around that, 70, 75% of these snaps for Hubbard, and maybe the rest for a guy like Royce Freeman. He is going to be involved in the passing game. Obviously, again, this is a higher total game. Dallas defense, it's all right, but not great. So I think he's a pretty good play in the mid-range. Zach Moss viable. The only issue is, like, at least for me, like, I don't really like going to backs that split touches, like Moss and Singletary. You know, they're not going to get a ton of carries, but they are going to be involved in the passing game. My issue with Zach Moss is, again, the touches, like 8 carries, 13 carries, 3 targets, 2 targets. You know, he had 2 TDs in week 1. It's like touchdown regression. Like, he's kind of got lucky with the touchdowns, which I think will raise the ownership. So for me, I probably don't go there for DFS. I think he's a little bit too popular. Sutton or Patrick, so going over to the Denver wide receivers. Let's go there. Again, a pretty low total game here. But yeah, if I had the salary, I would rather go. I think Sutton has more upside than Tim Patrick. Curtis Samuel, he's one of the cheap wide receivers we can consider. Now it's like, all right, it's his first game back. Do they limit him a little bit here? I think it's possible. But they said he looked good in practice, and he was the number 2 receiver before he went down. So for sure in play. Atlanta defense not great. He is one of those cheap wide receivers you can consider. What do you think of Hopkins-Ramsey matchup? You know, Hopkins is going to be low owned. He was 1% last week. I think he'll be around that this week again. You know, back-to-back subpar games from DeAndre Hopkins. You know, a tougher individual matchup. But the reason you're going to Hopkins is for ownership, right? You're not going to play him in a cash game setting, I don't think. But for GPPs, I like it. I like it against the ownership. Basically, whenever you can get a stud for like super, super low ownership, I think it makes some sense for tournaments. Like, no one's going to play Hopkins this week. No. Curtis Samuel, definitely not a must-play, but he's one of the cheap wide receivers we can consider. Aaron Jones or Montgomery, taking price in consideration, it's a big price difference, right? Aaron Jones is 7.7 as opposed to Montgomery at 5.8. So I think Montgomery looks a little bit better for the salary. Obviously, they have the salary to prefer Jones, but thoughts on David Montgomery? You know, Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback here for the Bears, but this is a pretty good matchup against the Lions. Montgomery played on 80% of snaps last week. He's a little bit involved in the passing game. I think he's a pretty safe play. I think he'll be popular in cash games, but yeah, I think he's a safer option. You know, I don't think the Bears that offense is going to go as bad as it did last week. I think they'll bounce back. 1 p.m. cheap wide receiver. So let's see. You have, what are the 1 p.m. games? The Giants is a 1 p.m. game, so you have Colin Johnson and Tony in there. Is Washington 1 p.m.? Yeah, Washington is 2. So you have Samuel, you have the 2 cheap Giants receivers, and then is Tennessee that as well? So basically all the cheap wide receivers, right? Yeah. So I don't know I don't really know if I have a favorite. You have Samuel, you have the 2 guys from Tennessee, you have the 2 guys from the Giants. I think you can throw Randall Cobb in the mix if you want to get super contrarian, right? No MVS. I would think his snaps go up. So what, about 5 to 6 guys that are viable? But as I said, you're not going to feel great about really any of these guys. Giants guys, you know, they're probably going to be Evan Ingram more involved. Galladay, obviously, that's still Saquon. But again, Tony, Colin Johnson, the 2 guys you look to there. For Tennessee, you can make the argument you have 3 guys. You have Westbrook, Rodgers, and Reynolds. You know, this is the tricky part, right? Because Reynolds was injured, and then now he's back. So, like, what does that do to the snaps for Chester Rogers? What does it do to Westbrook? He could take some snaps away there. You have Ferkser back, too. So there's a lot of question marks for these cheaper wide receivers. Thoughts on Schultz? I think he'll be overowned. I don't love the play. 2 touchdowns last week. He's still splitting touches with Jarwin. So just because he had 2 touchdowns last week, he's going to be overowned. I'll pass. I don't like going to guys after a big week most of the time. Ayuk, Anderson, Corey Davis. I would say probably Ayuk's my favorite, followed by Davis, followed by Anderson. Waddle, he's got a weird price range, 4.9. He did have 13 targets last week. I mean, this Dolphins offense is not great. They're going to be playing behind a lot. It's okay. Tori, what's up? Myers or Beasley? Wait, Myers is on... Yeah, he's on the late slate, right? The Sharon slate. NWI, Nick Westbrook. Yeah, he's going to be popular. I think he's going to be popular. The only thing I'll say about that is, like, we have Reynolds coming back. That could eat in his role. We have Ferkser there, too. So, there's still some question marks. OBJ, big game today. I could see it. It's a nice matchup. Beasley or Sanders. So, the two cheaper Bills wide receivers. Both are going to play about the same amount of snaps. I would just go to the cheaper one in Sanders, but yeah. Cobb or Rodgers, I just don't know what Tennessee's going to do with this wide receiver situation. Like, Rodgers only played in, 35% of the snaps. I guess Cobb. I mean, I think Randall Cobb plays more, right? With no MVS, you would assume Cobb fills in and gets more snaps. I guess they could always add one of these younger guys to play more. But I would think Randall Cobb gets a decent amount of those snaps. Yeah, NYHEIM HINES. So you're going to want to look to NYHEIM HINES a lot when you think the Colts are playing from behind. This is a game where they could be playing from ahead against Miami. So that's my issue. That's my issue with HINES is I would target him in a game where the Colts are big dogs, but that game could stay close. I don't love it. Westbrook and OBJ or Samuel and Cooper. I mean, I do prefer Cooper to OBJ, so I guess that second one. Yeah, I don't know if I have one. I mean, for what it's worth, I think Westbrook is going to be the highest owned cheap wide receiver here. So take that in consideration. Westbrook's going to be the most popular. He did play the most snaps. So I guess he's the safest one. I guess. Dalvin Cook. The reason you go there is for ownership. Not a great matchup. A little bit banged up. There's a chance, Madison gets some snaps here too. Maybe they slightly limit Dalvin Cook. So the only reason you go there is ownership. I don't love the play this week. All right, guys, wrapping up. I'll stay on for another minute or two. Appreciate you guys coming to check out the live stream. Let's see. I'm just seeing if we got any more news. Yeah, so FYI, I'm finally not playing anyone from Atlanta. So that means you guys should lock in Ridley and lock in Kyle Pitts. They're both going to go off when I finally fade. And you're going to see me tilting hard tomorrow. DK, thoughts on FanDuel Cash? Any weak spots? Allen, Chuba Hubbard, Davis. Davis? Is that Mike Davis? Is that Mike Davis? Because I don't like Mike Davis in cash. Kupp, Adams, OBJ, Kelsey, Westbrook, Jets. Kyler Stack's going to go in unowned. I like it. I mean, hey, you guys know I play Kyler Murray every single week. He's going to be low. He's going to be low. Again, this is the highest total game of the slate. 0 touchdowns through the air last week. A donut through the air. Still 22 fancy points. And no one's going to play Kyler Murray. Let that sink in. $100% AJ Green too much. I mean, you're not going to feel amazing about it, but he has played the second most snaps for Arizona. 6 targets each of the first 3 weeks. Like, this game's probably a little bit of an outlier. I don't expect 100-plus yards from AJ Green, but I think he's relatively safe because he's going to play the second most snaps at wide receiver, probably around 80%. This Arizona Cardinals obviously a potent offense, so it's fine. I don't, personally, I wouldn't go 100% AJ Green. I guess it depends on how many lineups you're going with, but Ayuk or Allen Robinson season long. Probably Ayuk. Thoughts on Jonathan Taylor figuring it out? What's his price again? 6'3". I just think I prefer other running backs that are going to be kind of bell cow backs. Hines or Westbrook? Last piece in cash. I mean, I probably wouldn't play either in cash. Well, Westbrook's fine in cash, but I don't know if I play NYHEIM HINES in cash. So I guess Westbrook. All right, guys. Last question here. Then we get out here. Again, appreciate it. Hurts, Henry, Montgomery, Adams, Debo, Samuel, Westbrook, Disley, Henderson, Colts, D. Yeah, I think that's fine. All right, you got three kind of bell cow backs in Henry, Montgomery, Henderson. That's where you want to look to mostly for cash. Jacoby Brissett, better option than Fields. I don't love either. I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, it would be Fields because he let everyone down last week. Low on Hopkins. Yeah, the reason you go there is for ownership, right? Logan Thomas or not Knox. Logan Thomas for me. All right, guys, I am going to get out of here. Good luck today, and I will see you guys all tomorrow on the live stream. Monday Night Football. Again, no live stream tonight for Sunday Night Football. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Good luck, guys.